Sorry, I feel a little technical difficulty. This meeting is being recorded. We ask you to please mute yourself during the presentation. You may have noticed as you logged on, you have been muted, but if you unmute yourself at any time, please remember to mute yourself as we continue the presentation just to limit background noise. There will be a question and answer section at the end. So I ask, if possible, if you can hold off for your questions, and you can always utilize the chat function to type in any questions you have as I'm going along, and I can address them at the end. And lastly, if you hover over your screen, if you've never used Teams before, you have a couple options here. The first camera icon will turn your camera on and off. The microphone icon will actually be how you mute and unmute yourself. And if you hover on these three little dots, you do have the option, if you're sharing your video, to blur your background or to apply a different background effect or to raise your hand. And then this little bubble you'll see here is how you'll actually see all the chat. And you'll see several files uploaded in the chat. I've included some resources that I'll mention as we're going through the training today. So today's agenda, we're going to do some introductions of both the NDA staff, and I'm going to ask you all to introduce yourself. I'll give a program overview, and how I've organized the rest of the training is I've broken up into areas review under the compliance reviews you're going to receive this year. So I'm going to cover the Performance Standard 1 today, which is going to have to deal with all your certification and benefit issuance. And again, we'll have a Q&A at the end. So you'll notice in the chat, I've included an organization chart so you can see how the school nutrition unit actually fits within the food and nutrition division in the Department of Agriculture, and a contact list for all our school nutrition staff. And before I introduce my colleagues, I would like to hear from you all. So if you could please introduce yourself, the school you're representing, and our icebreaker question for today is, what was your favorite school lunch as a child?
This is Brittany Hunt at Legacy. I represent Legacy Traditional Schools, and we have 3 campuses in Nevada. And I have 3 team members with me that I'll let introduce themselves. And my favorite item as school lunch, probably either nachos or cheeseburgers.
Thanks, Brittany. And would anyone else like to introduce themselves?
Do you know of any other ones you did?
This is Lauren.
They are talking about it. I just missed it. No, do you know who you did?
Hi, this is Liz Fulton from Legacy Traditional Schools. My favorite cafeteria food was the square pizza.
Very nice. And would anyone else like to introduce themselves?
Hi, my name is Paris. I'm representing Mountain View Christian School. My favorite school lunch was pizza.
It's always a popular choice. All right, and did I miss anyone? All right, then I'm going to move on, and we're going to introduce our NDA staff. So first and foremost, we have Joe Divil, our fearless leader and manager of the school nutrition unit. Joe, would you like to introduce yourself and tell everyone what you do and your favorite school lunch?
Hi, good morning. Thank you for joining us this morning. I oversee our school nutrition unit and our fearless, incredible employees that we have and administer the school nutrition program statewide. And my favorite cafeteria meal that I remember as a childhood is when they would make fresh cinnamon rolls, tacos, and canned corn. And whenever you'd walk into the gymnasium, lunchroom, the building that they were making these in, because they'd make the cinnamon rolls once a month, fresh, and you could just smell that baked deliciousness. It was unbelievable.
Thanks, Joe. And as I've said already, my name is Bobby Beach. I'm the school nutrition specialist. I oversee procurement. I'm here to offer any technical assistance, questions about your program operation. I also oversee CEP, Provision 2, and any food service management companies or vended meal contracts. And my favorite school lunch is more of a memory instead of an actual food item. And I remember being in kindergarten, being in half-day kindergarten, and we got to stay an hour extra to eat hot lunch with all the big kids. So that's probably my favorite memory of school lunch. And next we have Reese Winfield. He's actually our only school nutrition staff member in Las Vegas, and I'll have him introduce himself.
Hi, good morning, everyone. As Bobby said, I'm Reese Winfield. I'm a school nutrition coordinator, and I work out over here in Las Vegas. And my favorite school lunch menu that I can remember was probably pizza.
Thanks, Reese. Next, I'm going to have Bailey Tabor, our other school nutrition coordinator, say hello.
Hello, I'm Bailey. I've already communicated with a number of you. I'm pretty new in my position. I've only been here for 7 months. I'm also over administrative reviews, and I also help to oversee the school wellness platform in Nevada and the farm to school platform. And I think when I was a kid, one of my favorite school foods was they made a really good scratch lasagna, and I really love quality lasagna. So that was one of my favorite foods.
Thanks, Bailey. And Chris Tate, our program officer, will you please introduce yourself?
My name is Chris Tate. I'm a program officer with the Nevada Department of Agriculture. I've been here right around a year. I do NSLP claims processing and administer the fresh fruit and vegetable program, any outreach or claims statewide. I do NSLP application renewals and questions and kind of wear a variety of hats. My favorite school meal as a elementary school student growing up was most definitely nachos.
Thanks, Chris. And then Tom Doty, our other program officer, is going to introduce himself as well.
Hello, this is Tom Doty. I, like Chris, do claims, application renewals. I do a lot of the data submission and reporting to Joe. Currently, I am until the 8th of September, I'll be doing the user access for CMP and the single student lookup tools. In terms of lunch, for me, it's a bit odder because I grew up on a military base in a different country. So they made everything from scratch. So I have a lot of, between pizza, burritos, all kinds of stuff was really good. So I had a good experience with food in terms of education-wise.
Thanks, Tom. And then as you note on this screen, we will have a new admin assistant starting in a couple weeks, and she'll be in charge of all the program information, user access to our various systems, and kind of our gatekeeper for our school nutrition team. So an overview of Nevada, we actually have 51 National School Lunch program sponsors in Nevada, which includes 22 charter schools, 16 school districts, 10 residential childcare institutions, 2 tribal schools, and 1 private school. And our role in the scheme of things, we're considered the middleman when it comes to USDA and then you all as a district or charter school. So USDA offers several school nutrition meal programs, and Nevada Department of Agriculture manages those for the state of Nevada on behalf of USDA. So we oversee the National School Lunch, school breakfast, after school snacks, seamless summer, fresh fruit and vegetable, special milk, and farm to school programs. And then you all are considered the school food authority. So with your application, you are going to be administering the program and actually serving the meals to the students. And the whole purpose of the National School Lunch Program is feeding the students a healthy school lunch. This is a federally assisted meal program, and it's intended to provide nutritionally balanced, low cost, or free school lunches to children each school day. And some fun facts about the program: it was actually established in 1946 with the Richard B. Russell National School Lunch Act. And when young men were signing up in the service, they realized what a need there was because so many were malnourished. So there was a real push to create a school lunch program to address the needs of children for food during such a young age. The National School Lunch Act was updated with the Healthier Hunger-Free Kids Act in 2010. And this is where you saw the major overhaul of the meal pattern, school lunch or school wellness policy requirements, and a couple of other items. In Nevada, even with the closures in March, we still served over 49 million meals last year, and this includes breakfast and lunch. And under the National School Lunch Program, your students will have access to fruits, vegetables, whole grains, protein, and low-fat milk every single day. So now I'm going to jump onto Performance Standard 1. And again, this covers all your certification and benefit issuance. So you may have noticed in the chat, there's several resources I've included. I've attached the Eligibility Manual for school meals, and I've provided a link on this slide. This is going to be your go-to resource for everything regarding eligibility. So whether it's processing an application, verification, disclosure requirements, this manual has a whole host of information. I strongly recommend, if you haven't read it, to do so, or to at least have it handy, because it will be very helpful when you run into unusual situations. And I've also included a link here for the USDA Applying for Free and Reduced Meals website. And when going to this website, they do have several templates. They have different application prototypes in different languages, notification templates. So it's very helpful if you haven't visited already. And you'll see here, this is the most recent income eligibility guidelines, and this is what you'll be using to determine eligibility for your income applications. And it's also attached to this meeting invitation in the chat. So when processing free and reduced lunch applications, and this is a critical part of the program, and accuracy determines whether your students are going to be receiving a school meal or racking up unpaid school meal debt. So many of you have already started in collecting these applications, but we always like to tell you to prepare your staff. We hear it time and time again, as sponsors are coming onto the program, they had no idea the number of applications they would be receiving and the number of students within their SFA that's actually qualified for school meals. I strongly encourage all of you as new sponsors to double check all of your applications. This will help because it is a new process going through and there's different nuance when going through the application. So I strongly encourage that you have another staff member confirming all your eligibility determinations before you're issuing that notification to the student. And if you do run into an unusual situation, you can always ask NDA for help. We are here to provide assistance. So if there's anything you're unsure about, we can find the answer. And if anything, we can consult our Western Region office within USDA to get clarification on anything you have questions with. Now this should look fairly familiar to all of you since it was required to be submitted in your application. This is USDA's prototype application for free and reduced school meals. And if you notice going through this first year, if this template does not work for you, you always have the option to design your own. It just must include all the information fields that the prototype includes. So you can format it in any way that you would like to be more successful within your SFA if you're realizing that this is just, it doesn't work for you all, as long as you're just including those same fields. And this is the back of the application, which you all are aware of. So I'm going to go through the next, each section of the application because it's critical that you're ensuring that the application is complete because it should not be processed if there's any incomplete application. So I wanted to go through so you're fully aware of what should be included in each section. Section 1 is to be for all child household members. So you should see any child within that household listed in Section 1, the grade if it's applicable, whether they are a student, and if any of the student or the children within that household are categorized as foster, homeless, migrant, or runaway. Section 2 is where families have the opportunity to enter a case number if they're participating in SNAP, TANF, and FDPIR. And SNAP is the Supplemental Nutrition Assistance Program. You may have heard it referred to as food stamps, or the TANF is the Temporary Assistance for Needy Families, and then the Food Distribution Program on Indian Reservations. So if they're participating in any of these three programs, they have the option to enter their case number in Step 2. And in Nevada, this will be a 9-digit number, and there will be no letters included in that case number. So if you do see an application that comes in and it does not fit this mold, you can reach out to the family and ask for further clarification if this is the correct case number. Now, Section 3 is where all adult household members will be listed and any income received will be noted. And Section A under Step 3, the child income will be the income of every child reported in Step 1. In Step B, they'll have the option to list all other household members, so any adults, and they will list the income they receive at their frequency. And there's also the option if they want to enter any public assistance or pensions retirement income. And the last section, which seems to be the most common part that everyone misses on their application, is the total household members and the last 4 digits of their social. And again, everything in the application that's required does have to be complete before processing. So you'll want to see that the total household members is listed and it matches the number of household members listed in both Step 1 and Step 3. And the last 4 digits of their social number or social security number should be entered, or this box saying no social security number, they don't have one, that should be checked to process. And if the family did answer yes to Section 2, they will not need to fill out anything in Step 3. And Section 4 will be the contact information. So this is where the family is going to enter their street address, their phone number and email, and then the adult member filling out the application will sign, and they are signing certifying that the information they're submitting on this application is correct to the best of their knowledge. There is optional information on the back where the family can identify their racial and demographic information, but this does not have to be completed to process the application. And as I've said before, it's critical to make sure these applications are complete. An income application should not be processed until the family is contacted for clarification. If the family does not respond back, that application should be processed as paid, because all of those components are necessary when submitting a free and reduced meal application. So as you're receiving these applications, there are 3 application types. One is the income application, and this is where their eligibility will be determined on their income reported alone. A categorical application is where a family has indicated that one person in that household is participating in SNAP, TANF, or FDPIR. So they're answering yes to that, the question 2, and entering a case number. And for other source categorical applications, this would be any students that are categorized as foster, homeless, migrant, or runaway in the child household section on step 1. So to determine eligibility for an income applications, first of all, they are processed at face value, so there's no need to collect any other documentation to process these applications. As long as everything you are able to understand everything on the application, there's no need to contact the family. You're going to compare all income to the income eligibility guidelines to determine their eligibility for that household size. If there are multiple income sources reported, but they are the same frequency, you're going to add those those sources together and compare to the IEG for the appropriate household size. So for example, if mom and dad both make $100 weekly, you will add those weekly totals and compare it to the weekly amount for the appropriate household size. If they're reporting different, if they're multiple income sources, but they're different frequencies, then each frequency must be annualized, added together, and then compared to the IEG chart. So if mom makes $100 weekly, dad makes $100 bi-weekly, you're going to annualize both of those incomes, add them together, and compare it to the appropriate household size for the annual category. All weekly income to annualize, you'll be multiplying by 52. Bi-weekly will be multiplied by 26. Bi-monthly will be multiplied by 24. And monthly, you're going to be multiplying by 12. So to determine eligibility for categorical applications, again, it's processed at face value. So in that step 2, if they're marking yes and putting a case number and it's 9 digits and fits a standard case number for Nevada, you're going to process that at face value. And again, they do not have to fill out section 3, including the Social Security number or checking the box of no Social Security number. So they will just be answering step 1, step 2, and step 4. And again, if there's one person in that household that is participating in SNAP, TANF, or FDPIR, the entire household is eligible for free school meals, and they would be categorically eligible. You would be checking on the back of the application, free. For other source categorical applications, again, processed at face value, and this applies to students that are categorized as foster, homeless, migrant, or runaway. And this determination, any student that is categorized in this manner is categorically eligible for free school meals, but it's only for the student that is categorized as such. So if there's multiple students in the household, only one is categorized as foster, that student will be categorically eligible for free school meals, and the remainder of the students will have to be processed on the income reported in Section 3. So USDA defines a household as an economic unit. And an economic unit could be both of related or unrelated individuals. They must not be living in a boarding house or any institution, and they must share significant income or expenses for that household. So this could be a variety of different situations, and as long as they're all living within the same household and sharing these expenses, they will be considered a household, and all income for any of the people in the household should be listed on the application. So application approval, once an application has been received, it must be approved and the family must be notified within 10 days of that receipt. So I highly recommend date stamps to track when the application has been received. For our purposes, when we are out doing reviews, or for your own internal purposes, if a date stamp is not used, the only date that we have to go by of when that application was received is what the parent entered when they submitted the application. And we all know applications can live in backpacks with students. They could take a couple days from the family to actually get submitted. So it may look like you're not processing that application within the 10 days. So I highly recommend that you either enter a receive date or using a date stamp to accurately track that you are giving that benefit and determining their eligibility within that 10-day time frame. Once that application is approved, it's valid for the entire school year and into 30 operating days into the following school year. So there's no need to submit another application. If the family does, that application will supersede anything submitted previously. So if a family was qualified for free meals, situation has changed, they submitted another application, and they're now certified as reduced, they will be reduced for the remainder of the school year and 30 days into the next school year. When you issue your approval or denial letters, they all must contain the same information. So there needs to be an approval date. You need to indicate the benefit level of each child, and this is going to be particularly important when you're processing those other source categorical applications. And this is where one student may be categorically eligible because they're foster, migrant, homeless, or runaway, and the other students may be a different benefit level based on their income. So it's crucial that you're listing all the different eligibilities for everyone in that household. You should be including information so they can make an appeal, or if they wish to deny benefits, and the USDA non-discrimination statement must be included on all your approval letters. Direct certification is another method used to approve students for free and reduced meals, and allows SFAs to certify these children without them submitting an application. And so this is for programs for SNAP, TANF, FDPIR, and Medicaid. Medicaid is new to Nevada. We are a pilot state to test direct certification for Medicaid. And in Nevada, with a previous grant, we've developed a state level matching systems for all of our SFAs that are using Infinite Campus. So instead of tasking you all with contacting welfare and supportive services to match these students that fall in these programs, Department of Welfare and Supportive Services is now sending their information to the Department of Education, where we're matching with all of the student information system at that higher level. Those lists are then separated and uploaded into Bighorn, where you can grab those lists twice a month and upload into your Infinite Campus systems. If you do not have Infinite Campus, there has been a single student lookup tool created, and this is how you're going to or do all your direct certification. So you can upload a list of all your students' first and last names and birth dates, and it will match these students as participating in the programs mentioned above and their eligibility. And this will qualify them for free or reduced school meals for the entire school year. And I've attached the direct certification manual into the chat, which you can take a look at that later on. We'll walk you through how to upload that file. If you are using an Infinite Campus, you still also have the option of using the single student lookup tool if you're finding any of the sponsors or any of your students are not on that matched list. So if you anticipate or you believe one of these students should be coming up on the match list, you can use the single student lookup tool to identify these students and possibly match them. And this must be done at least 3 times a year. Now that you've gone through and certified your students, we want to talk about your benefit issuance document. And this is a document that you must keep, or a system that contains the benefit status of everyone in your SFA. So that you want to include the first name and last name of your student, their benefit status, and their method of certification. And this would be application or direct certification. And you're also going to indicate the type. So if they were processed by application, you want to note if they're income, categorical, or other source categorical. And if they are direct certification, you want to indicate the program, whether it was SNAP, TANF, FDPIR, or Medicaid. This document either should talk to your point of sale system or be generated from the point of sale system, so you have an accurate way of ringing the students up by eligibility type. This document or system should also include the number of eligible students within your SFA, and it should not have any duplicate names. Next, I wanted to cover verification. Verification deals with your program integrity side of things, and this is to verify a percentage of your applications that have been submitted by October 1. So the verification is required for income, categorically eligible, and other source categorically eligible applications. And in this process, you're verifying income reported, the case number they've submitted on the application, or confirming their household size. It would be whatever they're submitting on that application is subject to being verified. So I wanted to cover a couple definitions before I go into the process. The first is direct certification, or direct verification, sorry. And this is when you're using the records from a public agency to verify a student's application. So you're directly verifying this information instead of contacting the family. Error prone is referring to any applications that are within $100 of the applicable income eligibility guidelines. Random sampling refers to the process of randomly selecting those applications to be verified. Your sample pool is defined as the number of applications that must be approved as of October 1, and the sample size is defined as the number of applications subject to verification. So the process. So this is an annual requirement. So starting October 1 of every school year, you're going to pull the number of applications approved to determine your sample pool. Once you've pulled that number, and in this scenario, we're going to say that 100 applications were submitted by October 1. Then you're going to determine your sample size from the lesser of these two options. So either 3% of all the applications approved by October 1 or 3,000 error-prone applications. And in Nevada, all of our SFAs are using that 3%. So for example, if we have 100 approved applications submitted by October 1, we're going to verify 3 of those applications. Next, you're going to randomly select those applications from your error-prone pool. And if you're using Infinite Campus, I've seen this in Titan or Mealtime for your point of sale systems, they all have verification modules that can be used to help to determine any error-prone applications. And again, error-prone applications are any application submitted where that income is within $100 of that income eligibility. And when using this in our example, we're going to say that 10 applications were considered error-prone from our 100, and we're randomly going to select 3 of those error-prones to verify. The next, if you haven't done so already, you're going to conduct a confirmation review. And this is just confirming that their original determination is correct before you go out to verify that application or anything on that application. So you want to verify or confirm that your eligibility determination was correct. And step 5, then you're going to contact the family. You're going to send them a notification letter saying that their application has been randomly selected for verification. You're going to include what information that should be submitted. And you must contact that family at least twice if they are non-responsive. So your first contact point will be their notification letter, and you must contact them at least one additional time. And we always recommend that you are contacting them more than once just to give that family the opportunity to respond, but it's only required that you contact them one additional time apart from their notification letter. And you're going to want to track any contact that you've had with that family. Once you receive this information, you're going to verify the information received, and you're going to change their eligibility based on whatever information you received or lack thereof. So if there's no response to your verification activities, that child will be changed to a paid status. If there's an increase in benefits, it must occur immediately or within 3 days, and you're going to notify the family of this. If there's a decrease in benefits, so if they're going from free to reduced or free to paid, it must occur after 10 days. So you're going to give the family 10 operating days, notifying them that their benefits will be reduced to this level. And you will notify the family of the result. And November 15th is when all verification must be complete. So we ask when you're contacting the families, you want to set that due date for all of their documentations prior to November 15th, because all notification, all verification activities must be complete by that date. And the last step of verification, you're going to submit a verification report in our CNP system by February 1st. And if you're using any of those electronic models, like I mentioned in Infinite Campus or Titan, they are able to generate a verification report that is in the same format that our CNP system asks for you to report that data. So it's helpful when you're going in to submit that information. So for income sources and documentation, you must receive written evidence. So you cannot speak with the family on the phone and take their word for whatever income they're receiving or verifying, their categorical application. It must be written evidence. So for income applications, you want to see the name of the household member is the same that's on the application. You want to verify their income received, the frequency, and the date it was received. You do not want to receive income that was received last year. It must be recent income. If it's irregular pay or non-salary, you must look at 2 frequencies must be provided. So if it's not the same amount every paycheck, you want to look either at 2 weeks, 2 months, whatever that they're getting paid, the frequency, to accurately be able to determine if they're eligible for free or reduced school meals based on the income eligibility guidelines. If you're verifying a categorical application, you're looking for an official letter or notice that the child or a household member within that family is receiving those benefits. And for other source categorical application, you're also going to look for an official letter or notice that that student is being categorized the way they indicated on their application. This could be from your homeless liaison within your school sites. And if there are any other children on that household that are not other source categorically eligible, you're going to process their verification by the income reported. Now, direct verification I mentioned earlier, and this is the process where you will go in and directly verify one of the applications you've selected for verification. And this is where you can use our single student lookup tool to directly verify those applications. So if you're verifying a categorical application, you can enter that case number that they reported on the application in the single student lookup tool. And if they are coming up as a match, you can consider that application as verified and there's no other need to contact the family. SFAs do have the option to verify for cause, and this is used to verify any questionable applications. And this process is the same process as verification, but it's considered separate from your annual verification activities and can be done anytime during the school year. It's strongly encouraged that you reach out to the family first if you do have any questions about an application. And if you are going to be verifying for cause any school employee applications, it's recommended that you consult your legal counsel before verifying. And this is just to be sure that you're not only singling out those applications to be verified for cause. And although this is an option, USDA always recommends that we are in the business for feeding school meals, and so you want to be processing those applications at face value and not be scrutinizing every application trying to verify that information. That's not the intent of the program. So although it's an option to improve the program integrity, it's not encouraged that you're verifying every application for cause. So I'm going to transition into meal counting and claiming. And so once you determined your eligibility, now you're going to be setting up a system that's going to be counting the meals served by eligibility type. So whatever system that you create, you must ensure that it's accurately counting, recording, and consolidating the number of reimbursable meals that you served by category. And the system you create must consistently yield correct claims. And this is what you're claiming you will be reimbursed for. The meals may only be counted when the child is given them at the point of service, and only one meal per student per meal service can be counted for reimbursement. So a student cannot receive 2 lunches for any given day and be claimed those 2 lunches for that school day. And staff who are tasked with counting the meals must be knowledgeable as to what constitutes a reimbursable meal. And we'll go into these specifics in part 2 of our training tomorrow. So when you're setting up your serving line, you want to set up for success. So it's recommended, if it's feasible, to put the point of service at the end of the line. This ensures that the students have access to all the components to make that reimbursable meal, and then you're accurately counting that the students received all the necessary components, you're verifying their eligibility, and then you can ring them up in the POS. If it's not feasible and you're having the point of service at the beginning of the line, you must have an adult staff member at the end of the line to make sure the students actually got that reimbursable meal. You also have the option for alternate meal service options, and this includes field trips, meals served in alternate locations, or breakfast or lunch in the classroom. Some common mistakes, as we see in our first-year sponsors or sponsors that were out on review, we've seen several using counts that do not yield accurate results. One we've seen is using pull counts. So they're using the number of meals that they ordered or number of meals that they made as the number of reimbursable meals that they served, and that is not correct. We've also seen SFAs counting after all the students have been seated, which is also not an accurate measure because students are moving around, they're eating, there's no way to ensure that they've received all components and you're accurately tracking everyone that's received a meal. Counts should not be based on a census, and any counts that rely on students documenting that they take a meal has also been proven unsuccessful. And another common pitfall is not assigning enough staff to accurately observe the line as the students are coming through and making sure that they're receiving all the necessary components for that reimbursable meal. So there are some alternate meal counting and claiming models. These are called special provisions, and there's two that are popular in Nevada. One is the community eligibility provision. This allows all students to eat for free. It runs on a 4-year cycle. You do not have to collect applications during this time. And to qualify, you must have a 40% identified student percentage, meaning that 40% of all of the students in your SFA are directly certified. Another option is Provision 2. This is where all students also eat for free. It does run on a 4-year cycle, and there's no minimum eligibility threshold. And if you have questions about any of these special provisions, and if you're considering this in year 2 of your program, you can always contact me for information and I can walk you through both processes. So next, I'm going to pass it off to my colleague, Chris Tate, and he's going to walk you through how you'll be entering a claim for the meals that you served each month.
Good morning, everyone. This is Chris. So we're just going to go through briefly on how you're going to be submitting a claim in CMP, kind of the processes behind it. And Bobby's going to lead us a little bit with kind of going through our slides and making sure that each subject is covered correctly. So utilizing your CMP login, you're going to go ahead and log into CMP. You're going to get to a pie chart. You're going to click on the upper left-hand corner of the pie wedge. It's going to be a green segment on the National School Lunch Program. If we could have the next slide, please, Bobby. You're going to go ahead and click on the tabs column and click on claims. Next, please. Claim entry. So you're going to have both your monthly and your consolidated site claims. You're going to want to click on your monthly claims first and on the month of your claim. So if you're doing August claim, you're going to be wanting to click on August, September. So you're going to click on the site you want to enter the claim for. Next slide. So you're going to want to fill in the numbers for each of your categories, for your paid meals, free meals, and reduced meals, and for each program. So you're going to have separate columns for severe need breakfast. You're going to have a separate column for lunch, and you're going to have a separate column for your regular breakfast, as well as after school snack, both regular snack and area eligible snacks. So you're going to be wanting to do the number of meals served, the number of your eligible children, and the number of days that you're serving on. Next, please. Going and scrolling to the bottom, you're going to be clicking on your submit button to go ahead and submit your monthly site claim. You're going to be entering a separate claim for each of your sites. So obviously, you know, for some campuses like Somerset, you're going to have 3 or 4, you know, separate sites that you're going to be entering in. You know, some sponsors might only have 1 or 2 sites. So it's all going to be dependent on how many sites you have within your district. So you're going to want to enter in that site claim for the claim for each site during the given month. Next, please. After you've entered all your monthly claims, you need to do your consolidated claim. putting everybody in there, you're going to want to click on inputting another claim at the bottom. Next, please. And then again on your consolidated claim, the month in question could be July of 2020, August of 2020, etc. Next, please. Going to click on add claim. So your consolidated claim will automatically populate from the information that you submit in your site claims. But please make sure that your information is consistent for each site, and that it's being populated in the consolidated claim correctly. Next, please. You're going to click on your authorized signature. Whatever individual within your organization is able to submit this for approval. Next, please.
Thanks, Chris.
You're welcome.
And now I'm going to open it up for any questions that you might have. And it looks like I'm not seeing anyone. And it looks like Bailey answered some questions in the chat. Were there any questions that did not get addressed throughout the presentation? It looks like Jen, you might have a question.
Oh, looks like I'm unmuted. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Bobby, thank you. Yes, thank you. Sorry. I'm just going to run through my long list of questions here.
Okay.
Thanks, Bailey, for everything. You mentioned the categorical determination, homeless, migrant, runaway. Do we use McKinney-Vento for the determination for homeless? Is that where that status comes from?
So there's two types. So if a family is indicating that their child is migrant, foster, homeless, or runaway, then you would be processing as an other source categorical application. If you're receiving that information directly from your homeless liaison, from your McKinney-Vento, then that student will be considered directly certified for free meals because it's being verified by a public agency or an official verifying that that categorization.
Okay, right. For homeless, we use McKinney-Vento, but for migrant, do you happen to know what the law is or where it's defined if someone is migrant?
If they're migrant, I am actually not sure of the definition, but I can provide you in the chat or in a follow-up email after this call so we can clarify that.
Okay, wonderful, thank you. In one of your slides in the presentation, this is what I thought you said. You said something about the entire household would then be eligible for free and reduced lunch. Did you say that? And
I did, yes. So for those categorical applications, and this would be a family that's answering yes to that step 2 and entering a case number, then the whole household is eligible for free school meals.
Okay.
And this would also be the same in your direct certification when you're getting those lists and one student in that household is eligible for SNAP, TANF, or FDPIR. You're applying that eligibility to the rest of the household. So they all are eligible to receive those free school meals if one family member in that household is participating in those other federally assisted programs.
Okay. And the rest of the household would mean everybody that they have listed on the application. How do you determine who's in the household?
So for applications, it would just be whoever they list. For direct certification, if you have any linking within your student information system, so for siblings, anything like that, then you would apply that. If a family's contacting you and they're saying that in their household, cousin is living with us, then you could go ahead and apply that direct certification, either that free or reduced to that household as well.
Okay. And when you, okay, so a cousin might be in the household, mom, dad, grandma, something like that. We're feeding all those people. We make meals available to all those people.
Yes. So on the application, it's easy because they're listing everyone in the household, so it's easier to extend those benefits. With direct certification, you can only go off of the information you know. So if you know of a sibling, you can apply that that eligibility determination. But then it would rely on the household. If they notice like, hey, my kid is getting free school meals, how come you didn't? And it's just because you didn't know. So you can, once they confirm that information, you can apply that eligibility and you can backdate it to whenever that determination was made. So if the other, the students or the other family members were incurring school meal debt or not receiving those meals, you can back out those charges and backdate that eligibility to make sure that they were, because they were indeed in fact eligible that entire time. You just weren't aware that they were residing in that household.
Okay. What if we did like a Google form or something and then just asked them and made it available to those families that directly certified? Just say, hey, I don't know if you knew or not, but your entire family is eligible. Could you indicate who lives within your household and let
Yeah,
us?
you could do that, or you could even include it in your direct certification, that notification letter. You can even include a statement that if there are any, other students residing in your household, they're eligible for school meals as well. So then you could go back and then apply that eligibility determination to all those household members.
Okay. Okay, that thought I heard that, but that's a lot. Thank you. And then, hold on just a second. No, I think those were the two. And then I guess there was actually one last question was on the claim, submitting the claim, please. I'm not really understanding what the difference between the monthly and the consolidated claim is, but it sounds like it's a two-step process and two forms each month. Am I understanding that correctly? It
is two separate forms they're going to submit, and it's mainly going to be used for the SFAs that have several sites. So you're going to enter an individual site claim for any sites that you have. The consolidated monthly, you won't have to enter any numbers. It's going to pull from whatever site claims you entered. So if you have 3 sites, you're entering a site claim, it's going to consolidate all that information for you. And you'll just have to confirm that it's been consolidated correctly. And if there was any errors, you would contact us because our CNP program wouldn't be working properly. So it should be a quick verification on your consolidated monthly form. And you're just choosing an authorized signature and then submitting that for a total reimbursement that you would be receiving.
Okay, thank you. And I know, like, here at CEP, we get our percentage for free and reduced lunch eligible, and then apply that to the number of students that we have enrolled for that month. And that would equal our free and reduced lunch eligible. Am I getting that right?
Yes. So under CEP, you're just going to be counting aggregate meals that you're serving during the school days. And at the month, you're going to take the total number of meals served and apply those claiming percentages. And that's how you'll break them up in the number of meals you can claim as free and the number of meals that you'll claim as paid. And for your eligible children, because you're no longer collecting that real-time data in the applications, you're going to apply those claiming percentages in the same way you do to the meals as you to your enrollment to get technically how many students are eligible for free and paid meals. And that's what you'll be entering in those site claims.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Is there any other questions? Right, not seeing any. I'll go back through our chat to make sure all the questions have gotten answered. And if you have any questions in the meantime, you can always contact myself, and I will see you all tomorrow for part 2 of our training. Thanks, everyone.
Thank you.